I've missed you all. I feel like I've been gone forever. It was only like one weekend, but it just felt like a really long time. Um, Maybe I'll talk about it more in sharing time, but I had a wonderful time in Philadelphia. I had the best cheesesteak. It was an oxtail cheesesteak, and I almost felt like I was committing adultery. I was like, can I tell my wife about this? It was so good. Um, and I had a wonderful time in fellowship with folks from BMC, the Inclusive Mennonite pastors, my dear, dear friends that I got to meet in person and watch some of the most interesting karaoke and a really fun dance party and the biggest, gayest church service I have ever been a part of at Germantown Mennonite in Philadelphia, who was kicked out, let back in, and then kicked out again. And there's a lot of queer history there where Jay Burgeon is the pastor, and so I got to hang out with them. And I saw Deb yesterday, who did ask how Jay was. I said, boy, mamas, whoo. So it was a big time. And then this weekend we had the Constituency Leadership Council, better than the last time. God is yet moving. My faith is strong. And more to come on that another time too. But today I am excited to talk about Tabitha and Peter. When I finished CLC, so I was gone to Philly I got there on a Thursday and got home on a Sunday night, worked all week. Friday was CLC all day, and then Saturday half the day. And then I was like, ooh, guess who preaches tomorrow? Ha ha. And I have been thinking about it all week, so I did have a leg up, but this story is really interesting to me because we are coming out of the Gospels, and now, like, this church is emerging. So I'm going to use a metaphor. It's going to be messy. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's great, and I'm just not giving myself enough credit. But you'll just have to stick with me as we go, okay? So I'll start by saying, a couple months ago, I had a bit of an epiphany. And I had to make peace with something about myself. I love musical theater. Now, I know you all know I like Hamilton. And there's a core group of people that just like Hamilton, right? It's urban, it's hip hop, it's Alexander Hamilton, it's Lin-Manuel Miranda, it's diverse, it's rap, it's a lot of things, right? Like, just a lot of things. So it's one thing to like Hamilton, but it's another thing when you just want ensemble. I want to be driving down the street one day and there's a musical number. I would like... You know you do too, Dan. You know you do too. But I want a set. I want these zebras and giraffes. I want story. I want plot set to an electrifying number. But I'm all in. And it's funny because I don't like let people know. Like, I'm not like, oh yeah, well, I've seen all of that. I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that was cool, you know. But I really do love it. And I had to be really real with myself. Like, I'm almost at get me a pass to the Broadway shows so I can see Hadestown is coming this year, and I want to see that. Clue is coming, a mystery set to music, like whatever. I'm gonna be there. Anyway. I know you're like, okay, Shana, that's great. We appreciate this fun morsel about you. We get them all the time. But what does that have to do with church? I promise you, if you stick with me, you'll walk out here just feeling like brand new. So this week we're in Acts. See what I did there? Acts. Okay, stay with that. Thank you. Okay. You're getting it already. So Acts is a bridge that connects us from the Gospels, where we walked with Jesus, we lamented with those who loved Jesus, we celebrated with those who saw Jesus. And I just have to say it was the women first and the men acted up, but whatever. That's not this week. We did that on Easter. But it's the bridge between that and the building of this church. It's where Luke had sat down his pen and was like, okay, I am finishing these gospels. Hold my I was about to say hold my beer, but maybe hold my wine. I am done. And then was like, oh man, hold on, there's more. And he had to dip that quill back in that ink to now start writing and documenting this story. The passage we're looking at today brings together Peter and Tabitha. The framework we're going to use is a 2-act play. In a show, Act 1 is where we meet the characters. We get oriented to the world that they live in, their motivations, the central conflict. Some of you know the whole hero's journey piece. Like, we really get to know who these people are and what the problem is. Sometimes, if it's a good play, you get some major plot twists or disappointments. You fall in love with people that may not last long, or you may find out they're the villain later, but you really just get to know these people. And then something really, really big and really, really bad happens, and then the curtain drops. Act 2 is now where everything starts to shift. Transformation kind of begins to take place. It might intensify at first, but oftentimes there's possibility of resurrection, renewal, restoration, with whatever RE word you want to use. This structure, the movement from orientation to disruption to rebirth, isn't just good theater. It's the foundation of our theology, too. So we'll start with Peter. His Act 1 is memorable, passionate, messy, impulsive. Peter out here jumping in the boat, let me go, just kidding, I'm about to drown. Why you messing with Jesus? Cut off the ear, now the ear got to be replaced. Don't wash my feet, oh, wash my whole body, I meant to say. Like, Peter takes you on an emotional roller coaster throughout the first parts. And then a few breaths after that, he's like, Jesus who? I don't know no Jesus. To the point that he swears that he is cussing people out on, and I am not associated with this person. That's how his Act 1 kind of ended. Fear, shame, and failure. And of course, Jesus does return. He's still hanging out. It's okay. But I had not let it go yet. I'm sure Jesus did. But I still kind of had a grudge. I'm a little slower on my forgiveness journey. It would have been easy to stop the story of there. Many of us know how it feels to be stuck in the perception of your Act 1, defined by your worst mistakes or the thing you did not do. But the beauty of the gospel and the gift of Acts is that we see what happens when the curtain rises again. Here in Acts 9, Peter is well into his second act. He walks into Joppa not as a faltering disciple, but as a bold apostle. He enters with purpose. He responds to the grief of a community, prays with authority, and becomes a vessel through which God brings life back into a room that had been marked by death. He's no longer hiding, he's healing. He's no longer running, he's restoring. Peter reminds us that failure isn't final, that the things we did not do, the ways we did not serve, the moments that we might have missed, the calls we did not make, the relationship that we didn't get to restore yesterday, don't define us. We serve a God of the second act. But Peter's not the only one in this story. He's not even the one the story centers, praise God. Tabitha, also known by her Greek name Dorcas, is introduced to us as a disciple, the only one given that distinct title. As the text says, she was devoted to good works and acts of charity. Now, Tabitha's Act 1 wasn't as dramatic as Peter's was, and it didn't involve swords or rebukes or spectacular failures. Her Act 1 was quiet, it was consistent, it was generous. She sewed tunics and garments. She clothed the vulnerable, the widows. She made sure that they were covered, not just in fabric, but it represented dignity. Tabitha's care work wasn't performative. To me, it was pastoral. She stitched together pieces of cloth as she stitched together the fabric of her people. She was connected to the ones society often left out, and she served them not out of pity, but out of a deep and abiding love. Her ministry was one of presence, of practical need meeting, of dignity restoration. She used what she had, her hands, her needle, her thread, to bless others. But then, without much warning, the story is interrupted and she falls ill and dies. Her community mourns. It says, all the widows stood beside Peter, weeping and showing tunics and other clothing that she had made while she was with them. It's heartbreaking. This community that had been so tended to, and now this final thing happens. But Peter is summoned and something holy happens. I love this first part of this when it says Peter put them all outside. Because sometimes a lot of things happen in privacy. Like you always don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And sometimes it just takes a bit of a private moment. And then the next thing I love, so growing up Catholic, go new pope, by the way. So many thoughts, so many things to say. But growing up Catholic, I was also, on weekends, long breaks, I was also Black Baptist because of my grandmother. And there is a lot that happens. And it is steeped in Black church tradition, like hush harbors. It is music, it is hooping, it is dance, it is running, it is deliverance, it is something. While I deeply appreciate that and understand that from an expression point, the way my nerves and brain is set up, I felt like I was about to perish every week. It was just too much. So I do appreciate, I will say, I appreciate this moment where it doesn't say he yelled or screamed or shook her or any of those things. Peter put him out. He knelt down and prayed. He turned to the body and said, this is what I want him to say, Tab, girl, get up. That's what I feel like he said. Your translation may say something different, but Tab, girl, come on. Then she opened her eyes, what a shock that must have been, and seeing Peter, she sat up. There is a Black author who wrote a commentary on Acts, Willie James Jennings. I did not even have to see the picture to know that Willie James was Black. And in his commentary, he says, Peter's presence declares an unmistakable truth. Women matter. This woman matters. And the work that she does for widows matters to God. It matters so much that God will not allow death the last word. Others had been raised from the dead in the Gospels, but this is different. This is not a little girl or the brother of a friend of Jesus. This is a disciple raised from the dead. Tabitha is not finished in life or service. Tabitha is not finished. Her act 2 is different from Peter's. Peter's was about redemption, about getting back into the work after falling short. But Tabitha's second act speaks to something different and someone different. Tabitha's second act is for those of you who feel like, man, my time is up. Her story is for those who believe that I've already given all I have. I've already given what others would consider valuable. What do I have to offer? Does it matter now? Tabitha's story hits differently when you felt like your season has ended before your purpose has been fulfilled. It resonates with those of us who've been quietly working, loving, serving, and wondering if anyone notices. Tabitha's second act affirms that the care you give in the shadows is sacred, that the work of your hand matters to God. Casey Overton, a writer for Enfleshed, writes, Tabitha didn't just make coats. She made sure her community was covered. Her handiwork was an extension of her care for those who might be outside in the cold, wearing less than they need. Hers was the work of dignifying someone whose society may have left naked. Tabitha connected pieces of fabric because she was connected to the cause of those cast aside. To reduce her legacy to being a seamstress would have been an insult, even if she absolutely loved what she did. To love is to know, and to know is to remember. May our fingers know well the seams of that which has held our communities together. And may we never forget those who sewed them. There's so much in that. Tabitha wasn't simply making clothes, she was making space, she was making care, making cover for those who had been exposed to the elements of indifference and exclusion. Her story reminds us that to serve is to not always to lead loud. It's sometimes the work of mending quietly, loving deeply, showing up again and again for the overlooked. The thing is, we all have our stories, our personal plays playing out day by day. Whether your Act One looked like Peter's, full of fire, mistakes, and returns, or Tabitha's steady and sacrificial and maybe uncelebrated, know this, your story ain't over. God is still writing, the stage is not done. But maybe today you say, girl, I ain't there yet. Maybe you hear Peter's story and Tabitha's miracle and something in you whispers, ooh, what happens in between? Because that's where I'm at. You're not in Act One anymore, too much has changed, but you're not quite in the spotlight of Act Two. You're in the quiet middle. The curtain doesn't close and just leave you with regrets. There's that good part called the intermission. That's when you get to return, you get to go back, you get to take a break. I think the intermission is a really strange, sacred space. Sometimes when I'm in the play and I'm in the beginning part, like it gets overwhelmed. I'm like, oh, Jesus, what is the intermission? Because I need a break to process and to think about what's going on and maybe use the bathroom and maybe get a beverage, but whatever. Like I need a break to process. In the theater, it's the part where the curtain falls, the lights come up. Everybody out here in the audience gets to stretch and get a snack and wait for what's next. But behind that curtain, transformation is happening. Costumes are being changed, scenes are being reset. The cast is catching their breath, hydrating, trying to let go of any mistakes or mishaps that happened in Act One, because now they gotta go give it all again in Act Two, and trying to get ready for the next part of the story. It may look still, but it's not idle. I know some of us have an attachment to like productivity, right? Like if we're not doing something, like something's going on, but in every good story, there's a place for rest. Stillness is not idle. Spiritually, some of us are in that intermission part, in the quiet liminal space, in the not yet. You might feel forgotten or unsure or tired. But the intermission isn't a wasted time, it's a gift. It's where God readies us to return with clarity, courage, and renewed strength. So if that's where you are today, be gentle with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Don't rush into that next scene, because honey, the scene is gonna be there. Breathe, rest, let the Spirit do her job behind the curtain. Because the second act is coming, whether you've asked for it or not. And when it does, you don't have to have it all figured out. My encouragement to you today is simple. The first thing is I invite you to extend your trust that there will be a next moment. I'm not asking for you to believe for the whole story or to know how the story ends. It's like a paint by number where you only get to see the color for the number you're painting. So just know that the next color is coming. Know that when it does, your role is not going to ask for your perfection, only your presence. a willingness to step forward with what you've gathered in the quiet. What if the next part in Act 2 is not about doing more? What if it's about being more? Being more grounded, being more compassionate, being more open to the sacred moments found in ordinary things? What if your second act is less about proving who you are and being and becoming who you are? When that time comes, and it will, as I continue to say come, whether it's now or you still see it a little bit over the horizon, remember this: that day is a new day. It's your second act. You are not done. We still need what your hands carry. The community still needs what you make. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is remember that you still have something to offer, and whatever that is, it's enough. I have to be honest. I don't know what your second act holds, but I do know and deeply believe in the God who's already backstage, setting the scene, getting things ready, and ready to raise the curtain. May it be so.